I can do what I want when I want to do it. I can do what I need when I need to get through it. When I need someone else, can't be too proud for help, but gotta look after myself. Sometimes it can get lonely, never living in the moment. When the sun is shining, hope that I'm reminded, like how the clouds keep changing. I'm always steady rearranging, going back to the basics of what a good day is. What a good day is. And that's exactly what today is. But it's exactly what you make it. So please don't go wasting. And I'll do the same, even if it's raining. How could I complain? And my feels got me feeling some type of way. You always free to take a break. Hope you feel what I felt. You gotta look after yourself. Sometimes it can get lonely, never living in the moment. When the sun is shining, hope that I'm reminded, like how the clouds keep changing. I'm always steady rearranging, going back to the basics of what a good day is.
Oh yeah, and it's a beautiful day. Y'all know what to do. Good morning, everybody. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me. Shout out to Keely for kicking off the show the right way. So good to see everybody in here on this Thursday morning, the 2nd day of January 2025. Hopefully y'all are doing well. I see some 1s in the chat, so we should be good. Let me see how we're looking up in here though. Let me see. Ooh, wee. Looking all crispy and clean on the screen. Good to see y'all, man. Another beautiful day. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream and another episode of the Music Morning Show. I'm your host, ClassE Beats of ClassEbeats.com. And today we're gonna get into it. Originally, I had the title set up to mostly talk about Fani Willis, but we do have some breaking news about everything that's been going on with the Lil Durk trial / case. Man, I've been going down the Lil Durk rabbit hole, and there's some interesting stuff out there we're gonna get into today, as well as talking about Fani Willis and this pending lawsuit she has against her that nobody's talking about. And I'm surprised and shocked at this, but before we get into it, I gotta say what's up to the people and tell y'all good morning, man. Oh my gosh. Shout out to everyone that's in here. Of course, my awesome, amazing Amy is in the building. First thing in here, reminding y'all to like the video and showing love as usual. I appreciate you, Amy. I love and appreciate you and everything that you do. We got Olivia Rose in here, Valencia. Susan is in the building. A-Fits Taco Tuesday is up in here. Leona, we've got Rice Street. Ryan, we've got Penny is in here. Hopefully I said that right. Just Lee is back in the building as well. Good to see everybody. Michelle is in here. Trisha, Tammy, John. We've got Bart up in here as well. Aj is in the building. Nosy Rosie is up in here. Jennifer, Kim, we've got Ashley. Bitter Lily is back at it. Shout out to y'all. Thank you for dropping the 1s in the chat too. We've got Tada, Andrea Williams. Who else is in here? Mo Mac is back at it. Honeybee Free, Jennifer, Monica. I am Tiana is in here. Lauren Robinson, good morning, back at it. Erica, Peter, good to see you. Amy with the heart eyes. We got Pray, Press, and Proceed Customs. All right, I like that name. Shout out to you. Who else is in here? I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Cut is in the building too. Shout out to Cut. Peter Steele. That's a strong name there, Peter. All right, I'm not gonna waste any more of y'all time. Y'all know I'm already running late this morning, but I'm always on time. All right. We're going to go ahead and get into our first topic. If y'all could, I don't ask for much on this channel, but if you could take the time to like the video, not only is it free, not only does it help the channel to grow, but it lets the algorithm know that y'all are enjoying the show, having a great time, maybe learning a little bit of something, and it shares the video and the channel with more people. All right. So we're going to continue to keep pushing and keep growing over here. Good to see everybody who's stopping by. I'll be saying good morning to some of y'all as we go throughout the show. All right. Let's go ahead and get into our first topic. Now, as I mentioned to you all earlier, we've been really getting into what's going on with this Lil Durk trial. I didn't know too much about it, started to do some research, and we're finding out more and more things that are happening. We're going to get into a couple of topics today. Most recently, though, we found out that Lil Durk, not only did they postpone his trial, which was supposed to start on January 7th, so next Tuesday, they postponed that until October, but there may be someone in his crew that's taking a plea deal. This is getting crazy. So shout out to Baller Alert for this article. We're going to read through it and see what's going on, and then we'll get into a video from Law and Crime talking a little bit more about what Lil Durk could be looking at. All right, check this out. Lil Durk's trial date pushed back at least one, and as at least one of the co-defendants explores a plea agreement. Check this out. Lil Durk is now scheduled for a new trial date of October 14, 2025 in his murder for hire case in Los Angeles, pushed back from the original trial date of January 7th, 2025. According to the court reporter, Megan Cuniff, shout out to Megan, the discovery process is extensive, with the prosecution revealing approximately 230 gigabytes of digital evidence. Well, I guess we can. Mr. Adams got to stay out of this one.
No evidence, none.
230 gigabytes. Good Lord. This includes a mix of audio and video recordings, as well as surveillance footage that could play a critical role in the trial. Additionally, there are roughly 20,000 pages of reports detailing violent acts, witness statements, medical records, and photographs that are expected to shape the case. Now, obviously, the defense said we need a little bit more time. Now we see all this discovery. Can y'all give us another, 8 months, 9 months? Really? It's insane. And then Megan, of course, she tweeted out, rapper Lil Durk is looking at a new trial date of October 14th in his murder for hire case in Los Angeles, according to a stipulation today from federal prosecutors and the defense. And as we know, Lil Durk is currently sitting in an LA jail, which is terrible, but unfortunate part of the game, as y'all well know, right? New developments suggest that at least one of Durk's co-defendants may be considering a plea deal. Dontrell Wilson's lawyer recently requested a pre-plea sentence report to determine Wilson's criminal history category under the U.S. sentencing guidelines. Now, we know Dontrell, that is DD, all right, or OTF DD, however you want to refer to him, right? And he was allegedly one of the main ones that was involved in the shooting of Lil Pab at the gas station. And of course, the main target being Quando Rondo, as we now know. So he's one of the main ones. From the research I looked into, I could not find a solid criminal history from him. Don't see any priors. I'm sure a lot more of that will come out as we get closer to the trial date. And who knows, maybe if he reaches a plea deal before then, maybe we'll find out more information. But it's interesting to see one of the main named defendants in this case is starting to look like he may be folding. Okay, I don't know. Now with these pre-plea sentence reports, it's really just them getting an idea of what they're looking at, obviously trying to find out what their defendant has done, what he's looking at facing if it were to go to trial, and then making an assessment for there. So something to look at. And I wonder how Lil Durk is feeling about this right now, because y'all know how these plea deals go, especially when we saw in the YSL trial. Who knows what he's going to have to admit to or have to say when it comes to the factual acknowledgement section of this plea deal. So it's going to be interesting. On December 27th, Judge Michael Fitzgerald ordered the preparation of the report, signaling potential movement towards a resolution for Wilson outside of a full trial. Durk was taken into custody on October 17th near Miami International Airport. Authorities say he orchestrated a hit on rapper Quando Rondo, as we know, in retaliation for King Vong's murder. Sadly, Rondo's cousin, Lil Pab, was killed during the 2022 ambush, and we reviewed all of that in the last video. If y'all haven't seen that video, make sure that you go and watch it and check it out. Interesting stuff here. I wonder how quickly things are going to progress, because I know Durk probably wants to get out of there. I can't imagine that he would get a favorable plea deal, especially since from what I'm seeing, he doesn't have any major criminal history. But we're going to get into in a second what he actually might be looking at in an additional murder charge, which is crazy. But he could possibly be involved in another murder. We're going to get into that in a second. Let me know what y'all think in the comments and in the chat. Wow. Roll one up is saying he's cooked. Oh, man, Ro. You throwing this guy under the jail already? Oh, my gosh. Shout out to y'all this morning. Good morning to Roll One Up. Rosie Laws is in here, says, good afternoon from the UK. Appreciate you. My dog Freddie Harris is in here. He says the feds have access to only certain things. And Rosie Laws says, what is the lawsuit for? Hold on, Rosie. Take it easy. We're going to get into it. Thank you for being here. Ashley says, so will he have to stay in jail until then? Yes, he has not been granted bond. Unfortunately. Ashley said, will he get bail? Who knows? Which I actually... let me see if I can find something here real quick for y'all on the status of his bond. I think he had, let's see. So right now, let's see, what do we have? He's obviously still in custody without bond, and the judge made that decision on December 12th, and his bail request got denied. During the hearing, Durk's legal team proposed a bond package totaling $3.3 million, which included his 2 homes in Georgia, valued at a combined $2.3 million. Oh my gosh, an additional $1 million in cash from Sony Music. Sheesh. Despite these assurances, the judge sided with the prosecution, citing concerns about Durk's potential threat to the community and risk of witness intimidation. Not to mention, I'm surprised they didn't put in there a flight risk, because we saw when we reviewed yesterday that Durk was trying to get out of the country. Whether that was a scheduled or planned trip, we don't know, but flight risk seems to be the most concerning thing. Anyway, consequently, Durk will remain incarcerated at the Metropolitan Detention Center in LA as he awaits a new trial, which is scheduled to begin, as we know, October 14th, 2025. So yeah, Ro might be right. Durk, he might be done. Ashley says that's a long time to be away from his family. With these federal charges, man, it's tough. It's going to be tough. It's looking like he has a good legal team. And although the feds have a 98% success rate, that 2%, it might mean something. I don't know. Shout out to Jay Clyde in the building, says the other flights were layovers. They weren't separate flights. The Fed's been on them Chicago games for a long time. They've been watching Lil Durk since he blew up in the rap game. The Feds will let you get your money up because they know you will need it. October 14th is a long way away. Too much riding against Durk. He's done. He has a rat in his crew. Yeah, and looking at, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. This is going to be tough. Speaking of which, let's get into this video from Law and Crime here. And they're going to talk about some of the developments that are happening in this Lil Durk case. Let me go ahead and get this one in here as well. Okay, boom. I got it. So let's check this out from Law and Crime. They're going to give us, again, a little bit of background about what's going on in this trial and also what's happening now that things are starting to progress.
Extradition to California and a plea entered in court. There have been some major updates in the murder for hire case against Grammy Award-winning rapper Lil Durk as he postpones the release of his latest album to deal with court proceedings. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Shout out to Law and Crime.
Durk Banks, known worldwide as Lil Durk, has officially been extradited to Southern California and has entered a not guilty plea to murder for hire charges. A grand jury indicted the rapper on felony counts for allegedly plotting to kill a rival rapper, but instead it ended up with the death of that man's cousin. Now, when charges were first announced against Banks and alleged co-conspirators, and we covered this here on Sidebar, we didn't see Banks named in the same case as the defendants. He wasn't listed among the defendants in the case. But now we have a superseding indictment, and his name is at the top, followed by Kevon Grant, DeAndre Wilson, Keith Jones, David Lindsay, and Asa Houston. All the men are charged with conspiracy and use of interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death, as well as gun charges. And prosecutors claim the 32-year-old Chicago rap collective is actually a criminal enterprise. The superseding indictment states in or around 2010, defendant Durk Banks, also known as Lil Durk, a.k.a. Blood, a.k.a. Mustafa Abdul Malik, formed an organization called Only the Family, or OTF, which, among other things, produced and sold hip-hop music from artists primarily from the Chicago, Illinois area. OTF also acted as an association, in fact, of individuals who engage in violence, including murder and assault, at the direction of defendant Banks and to maintain their status in OTF. Now, prosecutors
alleged
that Banks had used OTF to really target this rival rapper from Georgia, known as Quando Rondo, real name Tyquan Bowman. He's referred to in the indictment as TB. Got to give you a little bit of a history on this and how prosecutors say all this happened. So Banks and Bowman, they were part of an apparent altercation at this Atlanta nightclub in 2020. And that altercation led to Durk's friend, King Von, another rapper, being shot and killed. And Atlanta police say that one of Quando Rondo's associates, Timothy Leaks, he was the one who actually shot Von, although that case blew apart. But Banks allegedly believed that Rondo was really at the center of this confrontation.
Not to mention, the guy who shot King Von, he got off, in case y'all didn't know. And he got off on a stand your, quote unquote, stand your ground law here, which is amazing to me. But
by the way, we have been trying to cover updates for you in this Lil Durk case. And I got to call out one of our sponsors, Upside, because with their support, it helps us to continue to do.
Shout out to Upside. We're going to skip the ad here.
To anyone who killed Quando Rondo. But now you fast forward to 2022, and OTF associates allegedly learned that Quando Rondo is going to be traveling to Los Angeles. According to the indictment, Kevon Grant, allegedly a top lieutenant in this criminal enterprise, helped get several people together, flying them to Southern California, getting them set up in hotel rooms, finding weapons and cars for them to use in this apparent assassination attempt. And investigators say that this trip to LA was funded by either OTF or Mr. Banks directly. But to be clear, prosecutors are saying Banks didn't want any part of the planning to be connected to him because he reportedly texted one of his alleged co-conspirators, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." Now, authorities believe that Banks also flew to Southern California via private jet at this time. Now, the indictment accuses the defendants of following Quando Rondo's black Escalade around LA back in August of 2022. But here's the thing. Traffic camera photos show a white Infiniti seemingly following this SUV until it pulls into a gas station. The Infiniti is then parked behind the gas station in an alley. The indictment reads on August 19th, 2022 at the Beverly gas station, defendants Jones and Lindsay and co-conspirator 2 used the firearms procured by defendant Grant, including the fully automatic firearm, to shoot at TB's car, striking and killing SR. This is...
And y'all are saying, yeah, you're asking about him texting and is that smart? As the defense, I think it's smart for him to say, hey, y'all don't pay for anything under my name. Would it, because in that instance, to me, it says that he understood that maybe something was going on, but he didn't want to be involved. That still doesn't point to a conspiracy from my perspective, or looking at it from the perspective of the defense. That says that he knew they were maybe about to go start some trouble, and he said, I don't want any part of it. Y'all do what y'all need to do, but don't involve me. Now, we'll have to wait and see when it comes to the trial, what comes out as far as text messages back and forth between them. It was mentioned in the indictment that there was a lot of coded language. They're using terms like TR, SR. I think SR was to refer to Lil Pab in that case. So we'll just have to wait and see what comes out of this.
TB's cousin, Savia Robinson, who was standing next to TB's car while TB was inside. The images below show defendants Jones and Lindsay and co-conspirator 2 firing their guns at TB's black Escalade. And this filing also includes surveillance photos of the suspects, or potentially the suspects, appearing to fire guns towards those gas pumps. Quando Rondo, again known as TB in the indictment, who was the alleged target of this murder for hire plot, wasn't hurt.
Exactly.
According to investigators, he was actually inside the gas station when the shooting happened, but his cousin, SR, Savai Robinson, was standing next to the SUV and was killed. Banks, though, is not accused of being present when that shooting happened, but more was kind of this figure overseeing it and funded it. But investigators do say also that he tried to profit off of this incident, this shooting, because in the superseding indictment, it states, following the attempted murder of TB and the murder of SR, defendant Banks sought to commercialize SR's death by rapping about his revenge on TB with music that explicitly referenced audio from a news clip taken shortly after SR's murder, where TB screamed, "No, no," after seeing SR's dead body. Told me they got an Addy, got location, go, go, green light, go, go, go. Look on the news and see your son, you screaming, no, no. And according to investigators, when word started circulating that Banks' alleged co-conspirators were going to be arrested in connection with the shooting, Banks allegedly tried to flee the country. An affidavit filed in support of the indictment reads, the FBI received notifications from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, showing that Banks had been booked as a passenger on 2 international flights, a one-way flight from Miami to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, connecting through Doha, Qatar, scheduled to depart the evening of October 24th, and a one-way flight from Fort Lauderdale to Switzerland, connecting via New Jersey, also scheduled to depart the evening of October 24th. Banks did not board either flight. And I believe that there was also another flight about going to Italy as well, but obviously he didn't jump on any of those flights. He was arrested. And he was booked into the Howard County Jail in Florida. He was extradited back to California. He was moving cross country, appeared in this federal courtroom in Los Angeles last week for his arraignment. He entered a not guilty plea. And by the way, his trial is set to start soon. It's scheduled right now for January 7th, 2025. There's going to be several pretrial hearings in November and December, but that is really, really fast. I don't know if that trial date's going to stay. But one of those.
And this is a little bit of an older video because we know the news just came out over the last couple of days that it's going to October.
Barnes to talk more about this. So, Detective Barnes, you can see how investigators move their way through this case, gathering evidence, piecing together the pieces, the parts of this puzzle. Look, these are all allegations at this point, but what are your initial takes on this investigation?
It seems in this investigation that
got Detective Barnes back at it
with collecting their information. They didn't get in any rush to go out and make an arrest. Obviously, anytime that you're making a high-profile arrest or dealing with a high-profile investigation, the last thing you want to do is prematurely go and arrest someone of the caliber of Lil Durk, because you know you're going to be on the front page of the newspaper, and it's either going to give you positive exposure to your case or it's going to expose your investigation.
What do you think is the strongest evidence right now tying back to him?
The strongest evidence that I could see in reading through the indictment is that, you know, his organization, OTF, Only the Family, his credit cards were used by members of this organization to purchase and kind of coordinate the movement that was needed to make the murder happen.
Do you think there's an argument when he sends that text message, like, don't book any flights under my name? I've talked about this on previous sidebars, but could he be saying, I don't want any part of this. Don't put me on any of this. You do whatever you think you need to do. Keep me out of it. Maybe, but then you look at the allegations that he was profiting off of the killing afterwards. That would be maybe a tough sell to say he didn't either know what was going on or didn't have a part in it, right?
I think so. Another question I think you also have to ask is, if you knew that this situation was going to take place, do you have an obligation to report it to authorities? You know, obviously within this culture, you know, snitching is something that's looked down on. But if someone's going to use one of my credit cards to go and commit a murder, I may not call the police, but I'm definitely going to call the credit card company and block any charges that are coming up.
Nah, I mean, we're talking about Lil Durk here, Detective. Come on now. They should have known. He said, don't use my card. They shouldn't have used his card. They did it anyway. Now, when it comes to Lil Durk saying that, yeah, maybe I knew something was going to happen, but I told them not to involve me in it. Do you have a requirement to talk to the police about that? I think that's where the whole conspiracy comes in. So maybe he'll end up getting a lesser charge from that. We'll have to wait and see. But even though he knew and didn't necessarily conspire, what part did he actually play? Because he didn't tell the authorities that this was most likely going to happen. It's a tough place to be in, man.
He could maybe say, I didn't know they were going to do that. Let me ask you this. With murder for hire cases, I've always been fascinated by this. Don't you feel it's a little ironic? The goal, of course, would be, if you take the allegations as true in this case or other cases, is the mastermind behind it doesn't want anything leaking back to him. But sometimes in these cases, there is the biggest evidence trail of all. Paper trail, digital trail, messages, financial trail, right? Don't you see that? I mean, that's, again, you might say there's not a lot of evidence against Mr. Banks here, but there's at least something to warrant charges.
I believe that just the distance from Chicago to where they went in California was the biggest obstacle for them, because the only way for them to be able to travel and make this murder happen, they had to make arrangements. And you can't walk into an airport and pay cash for a plane ticket. You have to use electronic means to be able to get on a plane and rent cars. So they definitely left a paper trail in this that I think was the quote unquote smoking gun.
There's a part in the indictment when they talk about co-conspirators either known or unknown. Does that mean that investigators are still looking into other people who might be connected to this?
I believe that also when you talk about known or unknown, it alludes to the fact that there are other individuals out there that do have knowledge of this and maybe aren't fully ready to cooperate at this point.
What would lead them to cooperate?
There's a lot of different things that can cause somebody to cooperate. It could be maybe at this point in time, they just don't feel comfortable. They could be working through other charges on themselves, that they may be currently charged with different court cases. Also there's a lot of back and forth now because you have individuals that were part of an organization that ultimately chose to turn against other members of the organization. So it's causing
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because can I read you something? Can I read you something from the indictment?
That's
one of the
interesting.
overt acts. So in order to prove this kind of conspiracy, it's not just a criminal agreement. You need overt acts, steps that are taken. This is overt act number 25. On August 19th, 2022, defendants Grant, Wilson,
This one was
Jones,
crazy.
Lindsay, and Houston, and co-conspirator 2, so this person's not named, traveled to a hamburger restaurant in Los Angeles County where the co-conspirators discussed, among other things, payments to defendants Jones and Lindsay for the shooting earlier that day. The only way, correct me if I'm wrong, the only way authorities can know that information is because of co-conspirator 2, right? That person has to be cooperating. Otherwise, if this isn't, they're talking about it, how else would they know they talked about it?
Yeah, and we mentioned this. We said, why is the co-conspirator 2 not named? Is this somebody who's taking a plea deal? Came to find out that Didi is the one that actually might be looking at a plea deal. Man. And someone said it in the chat. We're going to see how down Durk's guys are for him. Not looking great.
right. There has to be some kind of corroborating information that can prove up both sides of that conversation that they allege took place.
Yeah, that's the part that makes me feel like you might have some cooperating witnesses, which could be, quite problematic for the defendants in this case. Talk to me about the attack. We've been showing the surveillance footage, the surveillance photos of this. It's embedded in this indictment. The idea that they were following in broad daylight, parked the car, opened fire at a gas station. That is really, really brazen.
The attack was very very meticulous in the fact that they did some research. They followed them step by step, but the fact that they were willing to do it in broad daylight, I think just kind of gives you a peek into what their commitment level was to make this happen. There's almost a sense of urgency that pushed them, that there was something there that made them feel like if this doesn't happen now, then it's not going to happen. So there was something that motivated them to make it happen then, and they were willing to risk it all during the day, broad day at a gas station.
Is it hard to process a scene like that?
I think one of the things that would make that scene difficult is that you have so many civilians at that location that aren't experienced in the gang world. And so you may have moms there pumping gas. You may have day laborers that are there stopping to make a break at the bathroom. And the first thing you think as a civilian when you hear gunshots is you're concerned for your own safety. So in terms of being able to get details of where the shots came from, what your suspect looked like, license plate numbers, things of that nature, is going to be very hard because people are disconnected from that type of activity.
I just can't imagine what would have happened if the bullet hit the gas pump. What that could have resulted in.
That's hilarious. Y'all just said that in the chat. This was wild behavior, man. You could tell these guys, they were just out for blood at this point. And it's interesting. One of the alleged main shooters is looking at taking a plea deal. This is going to be, can y'all imagine what that plea deal would look like? And again, this is a federal case. This isn't Fulton County. I mean, what could he possibly get out of this? Jeez, man.
That is just really, really frightening to think about. I mean, we're talking about a tragic death of somebody as well. One of the things that, is disturbing too, and I hate talking about it, but this is another case of prominent rappers who are caught up in the legal system, who are accused of being part of gangs. We covered the YSL case. From your experience, maybe looking into these kinds of
blessed every day
gang-affiliated cases, what are some of the hallmarks that you're seeing here? What would you like to know as you're moving through this?
Well, Jesse, obviously, one of the things that's been synonymous with drill music, and specifically this genre of rap or hip hop that Lil Durk was involved in, is that the streets and rap are one and the same. You can't rap about this type of activity if you're not actually living that lifestyle.
Nah, all right. See, this is where the detective starts to lose me. Shout out to Law and Crime for this video. I'll have the link to the full video below so y'all can go watch this. Let's not do the lyrics things, because for every street dude, as we were talking about, rapping about the lifestyle, you've got 50 others that rap about it, talk about it, that aren't even living that life. So this whole lyrics thing really needs to be revisited. And I think we've got enough case law to show that these lyrics aren't it. These guys should be allowed to express themselves freely. I mean, we have constitutional rights for that. Let's not go there. But anyway, let me know what y'all think about this. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Y'all think Durk's people are going to stay solid, man? I don't know. It's not looking good. Let me see what y'all are saying. Shout out to the chat, by the way. We've got a professional in the building. Shout out to Legally Diamond in here. Appreciate you. She says she's in law school, and she said she works with these federal cases every day. That's awesome. Love to hear more from you, Legally Diamond. Shout out to Amy, said I'm looking fresh. Thank you, Amy. No, I try. Appreciate you. What else are y'all saying? Big Baby Jane is in here, says hope you're starting off an amazing new year. It has been amazing. Yep, definitely blessed and glad to see another day. John is in here as well. Salute, sir. Thank you for your service. Just Lee says, yeah, he's reaching now. Half of these cats not about that life. Yeah, it's wild. Oh, shout out to I'm Just Saying with Regina O, says Beyonce says one of her songs says in one of her songs, I ain't no gang, but I got hitters. Are we not gonna investigate her for RICO? I mean, they talked about Johnny Cash, I think most famously, so many other genres outside of rap. This is just, yeah, the whole lyrics thing needs to be stopped. We got to find a way to put an end to this, especially me being a producer and being involved with so many artists. It's truly an art. They're called artists for a reason. Antoine Bishop says King Von, they weren't letting that go at all. No, these guys were, I mean, they were staying on business, but I think they would have been a little bit more smart about it. Grandma Rocks, Queen Grandma Rock says, bad boys, what plea deals, what they thinking when they're trying to unalive this man? What plea deal could he possibly get? Oh, man. I can't imagine with this being a federal case that this plea deal would look favorable, especially to Didi. I mean, he was the one that, wasn't Didi the one that went and got the ski mask? Crazy, man. Row one up said give him 20 instead of life. I mean, okay. That actually sounds reasonable. I don't know if that'll happen though. Legally Diamond says, I think he'll be convicted. About 5 years ago, I was a legal assistant to a federal public defender. I go with her to meetings with the assistant U.S. attorney, and the amount of wiretap evidence, I believe it. I believe it. I mean, I want to see the text messages. They would have was crazy. I'd read 30,000 pages of phone calls and text. What? They don't indict without knowing for sure. Yep, we've been saying this, Legally Diamond. That 97, 98 conviction rate is not looking good for these guys. Crazy Folks Gaming. The feds have to go by guidelines, whatever his offense level is compared to his criminal history. Points will determine the time he is facing. Yep, and we just mentioned that in this article we read from Baller Alert. And that's basically what they said. They're looking at the pre-plea sentence report as we speak. So we'll see what comes out from that. That'll be crazy if we get a plea deal before October. That'll be amazing. Legally Diamond also says, and the confidential informants all in the crew. Yeah, can you say Lil Woody? You know, Woody was having breakfast with the police every morning, bringing them donuts. I'm not gonna stereotype the police. I know y'all don't all eat donuts. All right, just relax. Okay, we've got some more news. We are not done with Lil Durk, y'all. And let me see. As I mentioned to y'all before, I've really been going down this rabbit hole of what's been going on with Lil Durk, King Von, Quando Rondo. And now we come to find out that it's looking like Lil Durk may be involved in another murder. It's getting wild out here. These boys were going crazy. And I don't know if some of this is going to come up during the October 14th trial, but we'll see. And we're going to find out what Lil Durk is looking at facing. Here we go.
I think it's a strong case, Jesse, and thanks for having me as always. He is.
Hold on a second. I've got this on way too fast. Here we go.
Facing very serious murder for hire charges less than a mile away from where I'm sitting right now in downtown Los Angeles. And like you said, the feds don't mess around and they don't go to the grand jury to get an indictment in a case that will likely go to trial unless they think they have a bulletproof case, no pun intended. And the reason this is a federal case, of course, is we don't see a whole lot of federal murder cases, obviously, unless there's terrorism or an elected official or a judge. But, you know, that murder for hire component, that makes it interstate commerce, right? We're talking about a text message likely or a phone call. That's the federal jurisdictional hook, which will put this case in the hands of the feds and not the district attorney's office here in LA.
By the way, as we're covering these kinds of stories, I think it's just a reminder of how important personal safety is. And actually,
all right, shout out to the ads. Y'all go support law and crime over there. We're not listening to no ads, though. Here we go.
Anything about this? This was them acting alone. I mean, there were arguably text messages that seemed to suggest he was trying to make sure his name wasn't involved in it, but that would suggest a level of cooperation and knowledge about what was about to happen. And then, of course, he was picked up allegedly before he was leaving the country. So talk to me about, real quick, do you think there's any avenue for him to say, I'm not connected to this, I'm not part of this murder for hire plot?
I think there is, and I think that has to be the defense in this case. I can't see any other viable defense here, right? There's going to be a lot of finger pointing. Obviously, we know in these cooperator type cases, you want to make sure that you have corroborating evidence. You don't want to rely on the testimony of the trigger man alone, because obviously he is going to have a potential bias or a reason to lie to try to save himself or to shave off time from his sentence. So for prosecutors, you really want to make sure you connected those dots before you bring a case like this.
And that's probably why Didi in this instance is looking at a plea, possibly.
A Grammy award-winning rapper who has significant financial means to fight this case the whole way.
Well, now I want to talk about his connection, what we're talking about now, his connection to this 2022 murder out in Chicago. And what law enforcement was able to uncover afterwards is really, really interesting. So in 2023, an FBI special agent with the Chicago Homicide Task Force applied for a search warrant for records and location data associated with several cell phones. And as part of that application, a lengthy document was provided that laid out connections and feuds between alleged gang members. So the two rival gangs that are mentioned here are the Smashville Gangster Disciples and the Mike City Black Disciples. And a man named Stefan Mack is who we're going to be talking about. He was reportedly the leader of the Smashville faction. So in January of 2022, he was apparently inside of this youth center in Chicago when a stolen Chrysler pulls into the parking lot, okay? And the car sat there for about 40 minutes, apparently waiting for Mack to come out. This is according to police. And when he did, two men get out of the car and start shooting at him. Now, he apparently tried to run away, but one of the shooters chased him down and reportedly shot him in the head. Now, the other suspect also allegedly shot a security guard who was present, but thankfully that guard survived. The two suspects were identified as Anthony Montgomery Wilson and Preston Powell. Both have been indicted in connection with this alleged murder. Now, Montgomery Wilson is an alleged member of the Mike City faction of the Black Disciple gang, and surveillance photos from businesses and homes nearby actually show the shooters running away from the scene. And I want you to get this. It turns out one of the suspects actually left his cell phone behind in the stolen car. There's even a photo of it included in the search warrant application.
Oh my gosh, these guys, man. Do they not, all my street folks that watch this and criticize me for not being in the street, do y'all not have like a street crime 101 class that y'all hold whenever you initiate someone into the gang? Like, don't you have a class or a training that they go through? I know y'all got to have some type of headquarters or something you can send people to and help them to understand these things. Like, I don't know, the course could include chapter 1, getting rid of GSR. Chapter 2, shell casings, right? Chapter 3, don't leave your cell phone in the stolen vehicle. Lord, man.
And police, they were able to use cell phone records, DNA, fingerprints to identify both Montgomery Wilson and Powell as being involved in the shooting. Now, Nima,
Sheesh.
before we even get into the Lil Durk connection, your initial thoughts on this? Any possible defense on this? I know you don't have all of the details of it, but you could see how these two guys were targeted.
Oh yeah, no question. And that's a very strong case, right? You have video evidence, you have the cell phone, cell site evidence, you have fingerprint and DNA, putting them at the scene of the shooting, potentially an eyewitness, depending on what the security guard or other people saw. It doesn't get a whole lot better than that unless you
Get
have
a
a
burner
confession or, some sort of cooperator testimony. But this strikes me, Jesse, as a very strong murder case.
Well, now let's talk about what this has to do with Lil Durk, right? Well,
Here we go.
investigators believe that this assassination was a revenge killing for the death of Durk's older brother. Yeah, Dante Banks Jr., who also went by the nickname D-Thang, was killed outside of a club in 2021.
So many
Authorities believe
bodies,
that Durk
man.
offered money to anyone who would take out Mac as retribution. So the warrant lays out these connections between Durk and the men that they say killed Mac. There's this confidential informant who told police that both Montgomery Wilson and Durk that they are members of the Black Disciples. And the filing even includes photos showing the men hanging out together. For example, there is a photo showing what appears to be Durk circled in red toward the back of a group of men and Montgomery Wilson on the left side of the photo. There's another
Wow.
photo that shows Durk with the alleged leader of Mike City, whose name and identity have been redacted from the filing as well, and a person referred to as Confidential Human Source 1, or CH1, this confidential informant, by the FBI, gave investigators details about Durk's alleged gang affiliations.
And Legally Diamond was just saying this in the chat. She was just saying there's always somebody on the inside. It's always some type of informant. Man, street dudes are taking an L this year and last year. Is this the life y'all are glorifying? Bodies on bodies on bodies. Your own people turning against you. Informants, snitches, rats. And the rats are out here winning. I'm not going to name any names, but dang. This is what y'all love? It's crazy.
So the 2023 filing states, CH1 has reported that Lil Durk was and still is offering money for people to kill those responsible for his brother's murder, and more specifically, offering to pay money for any gangster disciple that is killed. And the filing goes on to talk about messages that are exchanged between new cell phones belonging to Montgomery Wilson and Powell. So according to the FBI agent's affidavit, this exchange of messages began 14 days after Mac was murdered. Based on my training and experience and knowledge of this investigation to date, I believe when the user
That's a
of
fact,
Powell Phone
Wavy.
2 asked the user of Subject Phone 2, "What's up with OTF?" the two were discussing Lil Durk and his affiliates. And then the filing shows a photo of Lil Durk seeming to wear a sweatshirt with the OTF logo, as well as a hand tattoo of those letters.
That's his
and the
record
FBI agent
label.
continues, when the user of Subject Phone 2 and Powell Phone 2 exchanged the messages "nothing" and "what you mean they not paying," the user of Subject Phone 2 was indicating they had not yet been paid, prompting the user of Powell Phone 2 to question whether there was an issue with them being paid for Mac's murder. When the user of Subject Phone 2
Allegedly.
"We waiting," he comes up here on the 17th. The user of Subject Phone 2 was indicating that he was waiting for Lil Durk to come into town on February 17th to pay them for having murdered Mac. Goes on to say, when the user of Powell Phone 2 wrote, "Did Durk gave you that money?" to the user of Subject Phone 2, the user of Powell Phone 2 was asking the user of Subject Phone 2 if the user of Subject Phone 2 had gotten paid by Lil Durk for the two having murdered Mac. And when law enforcement did interviews with employees at the youth center, according to the FBI, employee 1 stated to law enforcement that they heard after Mac was murdered that there was anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000 being offered for someone to kill Mac. And the filing also has a screenshot from Montgomery Wilson's Facebook page and states, on March 2nd, 2022, Montgomery updated his Facebook story with a picture of him holding money and the Lil Durk song "Aha" playing in the background.
That's
I believe
wild.
Montgomery made the above Facebook post to brag and take credit for the murder of Mac. Montgomery is playing Lil Durk's music and holding a large amount of cash to brag about the fact that he was paid by Lil Durk to kill Mac. Again, Durk has not been charged in connection with Mac's murder as of yet, but you have to wonder the impact this could have on his current case out in California.
Yeah, and Antoine Bishop says these things been happening in Chicago. YouTubers making money off of violence. They help promote these young men to create like they making movies. Metal Brain. No, don't blame YouTubers, man. Y'all listen to the music. Y'all bump the music. You know who these guys are in your own community that are doing this stuff, and you don't say anything. You don't do nothing. Y'all be looking the other way. And then I sit here and I talk about it and I say, hey, this is what y'all are glorifying. Is this the life that you want? and other YouTubers are talking about the back and forth and who shot this person, who shot that person. I don't know how that's promoting it. Like saying, look at this trash. I can't believe these people are doing that. But hey, if you want to blame the YouTubers, that's fine. But
California, and whether or not he
I don't think they're the problem.
Nima, I laid out a lot of the big points. Your thoughts?
There's a lot there, a lot of strong evidence, some of it direct, some of it circumstantial. What I would like, if I were prosecuting the Chicago case, I want to bring Lil Durk in, is something before the murders, right? You have these communications after the fact. And
I'm sure they got
tie it in to the plot before Mac was killed. I think that's an important piece of evidence. Maybe we don't have it yet. Obviously, we're talking about a pretty heavily redacted affidavit in support of a search warrant, but we may get there because if you see these types of written communications weeks after the murders, probably there may have been something leading up to it as well.
I mean, because again, if it's after the fact, Nima, right? They could just be listing anybody to pay them. I mean, you need something before, right? It's not just them mentioning Lil Durk. You need some sort of communication, maybe from Lil Durk, something to explain his connection to it. It's not just after the fact, right?
Let's say Lil Durk had nothing to do with this, and one of his rivals is murdered, and he were to pay someone as some sort of reward. I don't necessarily think that would be criminal. There has to be
crazy,
some sort of conspiracy, something before the murder actually happens.
Let me ask you this. If he had put out...
They have to have something there, though.
Right? And he never spoke to these individuals, and they kill Mac, would he still be responsible? He's like, I said that, but I didn't know these guys were actually going to do it. Is there any kind of defense there?
I don't think there's much of a defense there. I mean, he would have to argue that it was not a valid threat, or that somehow there was this conspiracy, but he withdrew from the conspiracy, or wasn't really acting as an accomplice. Or, I think that would be a pretty bad argument, especially when, he is someone that is an alleged gang member. We have those affiliations. There's someone that arguably is responsible for the murder of his brother. So, that would seem as a valid threat. I think jurors would look past that pretty quickly.
Do you think an indictment would be imminent with respect to this killing? Or if you're talking about something from 2023, this was part of a search warrant application, do you think that it's unlikely that he would be charged in connection with the murder of Mac?
I think it's likely that he is wrapped up in it. Oftentimes what you'll do is, if you're prosecutors, you'll charge the most culpable person, and then you'll bring them in and say, this can go in two ways. You can defend this case and we'll push it to trial and you'll be convicted. Or you can proffer and fess up and be honest with us and tell us who else was involved, and you can do yourself a favor and potentially get a less sentence. We'll make that recommendation to the judge. So, it's still pretty early in terms of where the murder case is going. And as we know, obviously, not all the cases cover on law and crime, but the vast majority of cases do plead out. And if this case does, it would probably be a plea with some sort of proffer or cooperation, in which case then Durk might be wrapped up in it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, and I'm not going to pause Jesse like that. It'll be interesting to see how this one goes, with Durk facing a pretty big charge in this federal trial. I mean, if this is going to be pointed to him, which the circumstances, they aren't looking great. This one's going to be tough, especially when it was his brother that they're allegedly causing the retaliation. So y'all let me know what you think about this. Durk needs to get it together, man. Shout out to the chat, man. Thank you to Amy for reminding y'all to like the video. Excuse me. And it looks like nearly 100% of y'all have liked the video so far. Thank you to everybody for that. Anton Bishop says, ClassE, go pull the history up of people promoting O Block and the gang wars between Durk, King Von, G Herbo, etc. It's been decades of promoting on Twitter and YouTube. And you're blaming YouTubers. For real. YouTubers are the last stop. I mean, YouTubers are at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. Again, y'all be knowing and lifting these people up and letting them walk past without saying anything. Don't put YouTubers in there. We're up here reporting, creating content about what's going on. I don't know how you want to say promoting. Are there some YouTubers out there promoting? Sure. But you are not going to blame the issues with O Block and Durk, King Von, and G Herbo on YouTubers. Shoot, I mean, I would even go record labels before I went YouTubers. Come on, Anton, what are you talking about? Man, come on. Let's not do that. YouTubers are the last stop. And as I mentioned yesterday, 2024, everybody has a platform. Every single person has a platform. Everyone's got a microphone. Everyone has the ability to make content. So you can post on Instagram. You have 5 people liking it, sharing it. They're promoting that. But that's the last. YouTubers are the last people you should be blaming, especially for the issues in Chicago and O Block. I mean, y'all even need to go talk to the mayor. Talk to the mayor of Chicago. You see what he's doing out there. Garbage, man. Shout out to Amber Rain making it rain in the building. Gifting the 5 memberships. Thank you, Amber Rain. If you got a membership from Amber Rain, please make sure that you say thank you. Always in here showing some love. And Happy New Year to Amber Rain too. I think I said it to you already. Well, if you're not a gang member, why go have an interview with gang members? Oh, gosh. Bitter Lily says YouTubers and Twitter's banned for truth just a few years ago. YouTubers not pulling the trigger. Anton, that's the last. Well, if you're not a gang member, why go have an interview with gang members? I don't know, because it's content. That's their job. I don't know. YouTubers making 3 to 4 hour long documentaries of theories that lazy police are actually picking up and making cases. Legally Diamond says true. I was in Chicago for a conference last week. I took a little drive just to see. Oh, okay. Y'all are talking about something else. Doug in Exile was pulled from YouTube, had to seek an attorney. Well, I guess all that applies to CBS News, Fox News, CNN, NBC. All of those networks are not allowed to talk to gang members. No, I mean, it's just people don't want to take accountability and they always want to find somebody to blame. When not only are they continuing, the culture's continuing to promote and encourage this type of behavior, but it is being promoted. But the last place is being promoted is by YouTubers. If you want to call somebody telling a story about what's happening, promotion, or someone giving a platform for someone to tell their story, promotion. Okay, maybe, sure. But it's still the person just sitting there talking. They're telling their side of the story, which we say they're doing in their music. So why aren't we blaming the music? Why aren't we blaming the people who listen to the music, who promote the music? Because that's the whole reason we're talking about OTF in the first place. We're not talking about OTF because they did a YouTube interview. We're talking about Lil Durk and OTF because he's a rapper. We're talking about Lil Durk and OTF because of his stance in Chicago. We're talking about Lil Durk and OTF because of the culture and the community there. It started there. Don't put this on YouTubers. They go and make these young men think, okay, I'm gonna stop you right there and not even. Make these young men think. What a statement. I'm not gonna go down this route today, but man, they go and make these young men think they're superstars online making movies, Metal Brain, watch ClassE. What about the music though, Anton? You keep skipping over that. You keep going into the end. The only reason they're able to do this other stuff is because of the music and because of the culture. So we need to talk about the culture, not the YouTubers. Not a 3-hour interview this person got because they did millions and millions of streams on Spotify. The culture and the community is the problem. Please don't talk about YouTubers. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a YouTuber. I'm saying this because it's the truth. No one is sitting up here on a YouTube channel saying that, oh yeah, YouTube made Lil Durk. This is why O Block's so popular. This man has 19 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Find me the interview of Lil Durk that has 19 million monthly views. It doesn't happen. And this is the problem. Like, we want to go and we want to blame somebody else. We want to blame the system when we know we're not having the right conversations about what's going on in our own communities and our own culture. We're not showing the problems and the issues with living this type of lifestyle. People are posting stuff about getting their get back. We're saying, yeah, twin. YouTube? Where's AI at? We talking about YouTube? We got to go a whole community out here that's trash, a whole culture that's trash, and we talking about YouTube? What? Come on, man. The feds are going to make sure their cases are not televised. They will not let YouTube or law and crime assist in the defense like YSL. Yo, I had to shut up so many times. I would say something about Miss Love, and then the next day she was in there quoting your boy. I was like, yeah, I can't say anything anymore. We are all defense lawyers now. Put me in, coach. Yeah, you want to go work for Fulton County? They need your help. Oh, man. Street DJ Academics, a YouTuber, gave literally play-by-play gangster activities in them shy streets. Mm-hmm. 19 million monthly listeners. Paint and sound, act, whack 100 alike are the minority. Yeah. Like, if y'all want smoke, start with the record labels. If you want to blame anybody, blame these record labels, because that's the only reason we're talking about these dudes. The Warren Chirac page has millions of subscribers. We're talking about that's fine. Let's see. Let's go with the Warren Chirac. Let me see what they got going on. The War and Chirac. I see Roll One Up just wants to be right. Roll One Up, can you accept the fact that the War in Chirac isn't the problem, though? Are you just gonna, like, do you just want to be right? Because I feel like you just want to be right a lot of the time. The War in Chirac, it has 393,000 subscribers. The last video is this the right one? The last video they posted was 7 years ago, and it got 338,000 views. So you're telling this is the reason that O Block is what it is. They're to blame. Good morning, Peyton Sound. What are we talking about? Frito Santana hospitalized for light seizures. Chief Keef is now unsuspended from his recording contract. He got his BMW i8 back as well. Chirac savages kill man and 2-year-old son while his pregnant girlfriend streamed live on Facebook Live. Okay, so here's my thing. So you're saying we're going to see this. They're going to say, oh, yeah. That's the life I want. He got him. They killed a man and his 2-year-old son. Yeah, that's the life I want. Chirac gang member D. Rose gets sentenced to 40 years in prison for murder. Yeah. That's the life I want. Man who brought Rico Reckless to Detroit gets confronted by goons for making the city look sweet. Yeah, that's the life I want. And you're telling me this is the problem. This 5-minute video is the problem. If y'all get out of here with it, this is it right here. The reason that this YouTube channel even exists is because of the culture and because of the community. It's not the other way around. The community is garbage. The culture is garbage. And we got to keep shedding the light on this and shaming it. Shout out to Shadow Fox in here. Appreciate you for the 5-bomb. Chicago ninjas have a hard time taking responsibility. That's why they keep playing with others. They let a baddie boy dedicate their ish. Yeah, the war in Chirac it's promoting. So it's telling the story of what's going on in the streets. And y'all are saying, yeah, well, no. No, you're right. The community has a gang of issues. People profiting off of death will always keep the death going. What? It's a worldwide problem, says Anton Bishop. But yeah, it starts at home, man. How do we fix these issues? It's simple. Right Street said you can't fix stupid. Antoine Bishop says, why is it up if the channel hasn't posted in 7 years? I don't know. I guess because they just left it up. We changed the conversation. Instead of being one of these 19 million monthly listeners, we have conversations about this. That this man got killed and his 2-year-old son. Is this the life that you want? Chirac gang member D Rose gets sentenced to 40 years in prison for murder. Is that the life that you want? So if you want to fix it, you got to blow the whole thing up. And you just have to make a decision that you're going to go a different way. Because y'all see it. Y'all know who's doing it. You know what's happening. And nobody's doing nothing. And I know some of y'all in the chat, me personally, have seen too many people fall victim to this. And we're still supporting it. Freddie Harris, you can't fix stupid, but you don't have to go along with it. Like, why would this channel, any of these videos, make someone excited to be involved in the gang culture? How is this promoting? Now, this just looks like straight reporting to me. I don't know, man. We got a lot of work to do. And I don't know if I'm up for it, to be honest. I mean, we'll keep talking about it here. And I'll be doing the work that I can here, but it's almost like, man, I'm just going to focus on my family because we still got people, and this isn't directed at anyone specifically. We still have people I see in the comments all the time not wanting to take responsibility. And it's just like, man, what's even the point? Rolling Up says, this is dope. Complaints and no solutions, just vibes. I'm doing it every single day. I have a son and a daughter. And guess what? They wouldn't even consider this. You know why? Because I instilled certain values in them about against this type of thing. So people have to put in the work, or it's not going to change. Y'all, we got to put in the work in our own communities. It's not that complicated. But it's not surprising, because most people want to be a victim and they just want somebody else to fix it for them. Y'all don't want to do the work. You want to say, what's the solution? Your kids are blessed they aren't from these environments. Why do the environments? No, my kids are blessed because I put in the work. And I actually care. But most people don't care. It's like, oh, well, it is what it is. Oh, well, it's the environment. Oh, it's the government. So I'm just not going to do anything. It's promoting because there are no real news to include fact checking built on lies and fake flexing. Yeah, getting 40 years. That's a big flex. Nice. The environment shouldn't matter. You should know how to teach the worse it is. It's sad. All right, let's get into this. Fani Willis, y'all. Oh my goodness. Fani Willis is coming under some more fire. Now, this is actually a pending lawsuit that was filed back in April of last year. It's weird to say last year. It's 2025. And we're going to get into the details behind what's happening. I'm going to show you guys the press conference from the claimant in this case, because this entire lawsuit is absolutely crazy. Fani Willis not only getting fired from Fulton County for the Trump case, but now she's still having to deal with this pending and ongoing lawsuit. Y'all check this out, and shout out to Atlanta News First
County
for this
District
story.
Attorney Fani Willis now being sued by a state lawmaker. Republican Representative Misha Maynor says Willis, among others, didn't do enough to prosecute Maynor's stalker and even work to help him get less jail time. Atlanta News First political reporter Doug Reardon is live outside of the Capitol for us tonight, live at 5. And Doug, Maynor's case has been going on for more than 6 years. Why file a lawsuit right now?
Right, Dory. We asked her that exact question when she gave us a couple minutes here at the Capitol today, and she said she tried to do everything that she could behind the scenes to handle these problems, and even got some stalking legislation passed here this session, but got no help from the DA.
Crazy.
So she filed a lawsuit seeking some accountability. Maynor was stalked in 2019 by a former staffer who was working on her state house campaign at the time. She was granted a restraining order after his behavior became, quote, unruly and belligerent, according to the lawsuit. But Maynor is accusing District Attorney Fani Willis and Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Arrington, who is also her stalker's defense attorney, of working together to craft a plea deal and downgrade her stalker's charges from a felony to a misdemeanor without telling Maynor. He ended up serving no additional jail time, and Maynor said filing a lawsuit became her only option.
It's been over 6 years, and I have been silent about it. I've gone behind the scenes trying to seek justice for myself. This is the last straw.
Crazy, man.
And we did get a
Fani Willis
response
can't
from the
catch a
district
break.
attorney's office on this today. They said, quote, Representative Maynor's allegations are baseless. We have not been served with the lawsuit. If we are confident it will be dismissed. No comment, however, tonight on this from Commissioner Marvin Arrington's office. Representative Maynor is requesting a jury trial to see if either of them strayed from doing their duties as officials of Fulton County. We're outside the state capitol. Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.
Wow.
This
All right, so there it is. Let's get into this article and see why Fani Willis is being sued by this representative. What happened? A state lawmaker who represents a portion of Atlanta has filed a lawsuit against Fulton County's District Attorney Fani Willis and others, claiming they harmed her as a victim of an alleged stalker. State Representative Misha Maynor, publicly discussed the lawsuit Tuesday at the state capitol. Her lawsuit is seeking emotional and monetary damages tied to the prosecution of a man who stalked her for years. Maynor, a two-term downtown Atlanta lawmaker whose 2023 switch to the Republican Party shocked Democrats, is also suing Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Arrington, the Fulton County Ethics the Fulton County Ethics Board, and the county itself. Oh my gosh. On February 23rd, 2024, Maynard filed a complaint against Willis, Arrington, and the Ethics Board and the county in Fulton County Superior Court over the handling of an alleged stalking complaint against Corin Monson. Maynard's complaint claims Monson, a former staffer at Maynard's campaign for the State House, began stalking her, which eventually resulted in Maynard filing a temporary restraining order, or TRO, against him. Monson, according to Maynard's complaint, was eventually arrested for violating the TRO and charged with stalking. Dang! Monson then hired Arrington as his defense attorney. Commissioner Arrington used his influence to circumvent the office policies of the district attorney's office, shocker, including intimidating the ADAs by copying the district attorneys on emails, negotiating plea deals directly with the district attorney instead of the ADAs, and demanding meetings with the district attorney when the ADAs refused to bend to his will, Maynard's complaint said. DA Willis did dismiss one of his aggravated stalking cases, which he's upset about, clearly, according to Maynard's complaint. On the remaining aggravated stalking case, DA Willis offered Monson a plea of 3 years to serve 1 in prison. Oh man. The balance on probation with credit for the time he had already served. Plaintiff Maynard was not informed the plea deal extended to Mr. Monson prior to him accepting, which is a violation of the Georgia Crime Victims Bill of Rights. Fani violating laws again. Are we surprised? No. The Fulton County District Attorney's Office shared the following statement in response to Representative Maynard's allegations. Representative Maynard's allegations are baseless. We have not been served with the lawsuit. If we are confident it will be dismissed. Maynard also used the lawsuit to address persistent issues of overcrowding at the Fulton County Jail. Shout out to them for that. See, they've been working on this for a minute. That's dope that she took the chance to do that as well. Due to what she said was a pattern of non-prosecution of cases by Willis's office. And we've talked about this. A lot of these guys sitting in the Fulton County jail system haven't even been indicted. They're in there awaiting a court date, which is crazy. Some of them dying within 24 hours, many of them being assaulted. I mean, the numbers are staggering. We saw that in the Department of Justice report that we reviewed in another video. Last year, in 2023, a series of reports from Atlanta News First Investigates highlighted the lengthy delays and detainments at the Fulton County Jail, which has been repeatedly recognized as one of the nation's most notorious jails and one of the worst in the nation. The series, reported by nationally recognized and award-winning investigative journalist Andy P., because I'm going to mess up his last name, found some Atlanta criminal defense attorneys compare the jail to the notorious Guantanamo Bay detention camp in Cuba, or Gitmo, which has held suspected 9/11 terrorists without trial for decades. According to records provided by the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, in September 2023, at least 690 people were waiting more than a year in jail for their trial dates. As of September 16, 2023, a total of 142 people have waited more than 3 years, and at least 19 people were waiting more than 5 years just for a trial date, y'all. The series, can you imagine? I just can't. The series featured for the first time Fulton County's top 4 elected judicial and political leaders, all of whom offered their own perspectives on the jail's conditions and subsequent rising numbers of inmate deaths. Fani Willis, Willis's Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labatt, Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts, and Fulton County Superior Court Chief Judge Earl Glanville. Can we give a boo for all 3 of those dudes? So now we're going to get into the initial press conference that took place when these accusations actually came out.
Prosecuting Attorneys Qualifications Commission is evident due to the actions of the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. My lawsuit against Fani Willis, Marvin Arrington, and the Fulton County Ethics Board stems from this necessity.
It's so
Stalking, often
terrible.
misunderstood, involves repeated, unwanted behavior, causing fear or distress. It's a serious issue affecting millions annually, with most victims knowing they're stalkers. The Netflix documentary, Can I Tell You a Secret?, sheds light on this issue. Stalking behaviors include harassment, intimidation, and even violence. Despite its prevalence, misconceptions persist, hindering support for victims. Stalkers exploit various tactics, from relentless calls to spreading rumors. They often target former partners and engage in something called proxy stalking, which involves third parties.
Dang.
Victims endure emotional trauma, and the risk of violence is significant, especially with intimate partner stalkers. The failure to address stalking perpetuates the cycle of abuse, highlighting the importance of legal measures like the Prosecuting Attorney's Qualification Commission, or PAC. It's crucial to support victims and hold accountable those who neglect their duties, ensuring justice for everyone. Stalking is repetitive. Stalkers create a pattern of repeated unwanted attention and contact towards a person. It's an obsession I don't believe they themselves even realize. Their focus is unrelenting towards the victim. A stalker harasses and intimidates a person over and over without ceasing. Examples of stalking are showing up at someone's home or their job uninvited.
Oh, that's crazy.
If
John.
Fani Willis investigated my case, she would have spoken to my secretary at the Emory Healthcare, who would have shared with her, my stalker repeatedly came to my job to harass me.
Wow.
Repeatedly calling victims at unreasonable amount of times. It could be up to 50 times a day, but they'll make up excuses or lie as to why they had to call you 50 times. Stalkers will cash app you money unsolicited, and you have to block them from sending you money. Stalkers will repeatedly wait for you at your car and surprise you with the "I was just in the area."
Oh.
Stalkers will also call you from other people's
Weird.
numbers once you block them. Stalkers will leave threatening voicemails on your phone, vacillating between thoughts of undying love and hate if you do not call them back. They'll send you letters to their victim's job in an effort to try to get them fired. They will try to blackmail you. They file motions to appeal their restraining order because they truly believe they are not a stalker. Stalkers get other unknowing and knowing third parties to harass and intimidate you. Proxy stalking. Stalkers will stalk former spouses, friends, sexual partners, or people they sexually assaulted. They spread rumors about their victims, and they do everything they can to belittle and humiliate their victims.
Stalking is crazy.
Once they realize they can't have you discussed for their victims sets in, and they try to destroy the person's life. When people repeat rumors they heard from a stalker, they are unknowingly participating in stalking the victim. There are approximately 13.5 million victims of stalking in the United States every year, and I want to give you a few stats. 67% know the person stalking them. They aren't strangers, as most believe. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men are stalked. 16% of transgender people. 9% know their stalker from work. 75% receive unwanted calls. 57% have their stalker show up unexpectedly. 52% are surveillance. 40% are targeted by intimate partners. They threaten to share intimate images of their victims. 74% of former intimate stalkers report violence. 1 in 5 use weapons to threaten or harm their victims. It increases for intimate partners by threefold to make it a fatality. 22% of them will post inappropriate things and personal information of their victims online. Some common misconceptions.
Yeah, and y'all want to see a picture of him? It gets deeper too. This was from an article titled Alarming Jailhouse Phone Calls from a Man Accused of Stalking a Political Candidate He Once Worked For. And this was back in 2021. And if you want to see what it looks like, there is the man right there, Mr. Corwin Monson. All right, we'll keep going on this video.
They're strangers. They're not. They will eventually stop. If you ignore it, they will stop. Online stalking is not as bad as physical stalking. For those listening, there's a 24/7 National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is 1-800-799-SAFE or 7233. There's also a 24/7 National Sexual Assault
The phone
Hotline,
ring. Yeah.
1-800-656-HOPE.
That's crazy.
Victims of domestic violence and stalking deserve to be heard, especially when faced with reluctance from authorities like the District Attorney, Fani Willis. The fear and anxiety victims endure are compounded by the constant vigilance required to protect themselves. In my own experience seeking justice from Fulton County DA Fani Willis, I discovered concerning actions that were brought to my attention from an investigative reporter. It revealed collusions between my stalker, aided by Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Arrington, who also served as my stalker's personal attorney. This conflict of interest is alarming as it compromises the very justice system meant to protect victims. Despite presenting numerous witnesses, DA Willis did not interview one single witness. Over 20 were presented, including my pastor after he joined my church. This pattern of neglect and misconduct persisted, violating my rights under Marcy's Law as she offered a plea deal without consenting me. The passage of the Prosecuting Attorney's Qualification Commission is a vital step towards accountability, providing recourse for citizens failed by the system. Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Arrington chose to take a stalking case against a state representative, all while he oversees and appropriates funds to the DA's office. As a criminal defense attorney, Fulton Commissioner Marvin Arrington defends his clients in the same courtroom he appropriates and has unlimited access to the judges. DA Willis is charged to represent victims in Fulton County, the very people Commissioner Arrington's private clients seek to dismiss claims against. Two attorneys, family friends, law school classmates, opposing each other with one having the authority to chop up charges to benefit the other, and one with the authority to vehemently advocate for funding. A perfect storm for an unknowing victim. During jail calls, Commissioner Arrington and my stalker plotted various actions, including manipulating judges, leveraging political influence, and conversations that were had between Commissioner Arrington with Fani Willis before she was even sworn into office about my case. Commissioner Arrington discusses getting favors from the chief jailer of the Fulton County Jail on behalf of my stalker. And the criminal behavior of other elected officials, past and present, is discussed on these jail calls.
Oh, no.
Despite presenting numerous witnesses, DA Willis contacted no one. DA Willis and ADA Yolanda Mack admitted awareness of judges favoring Commissioner Arrington. She never fought for me as a victim, a Fulton County resident. She was always in the pocket of the commissioner and retaliated against me after I contacted the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Violence Against Women, because DA Willis repeatedly allowed my stalker to be released on bond for non-bondable crimes and failed to notify me of court proceedings repeatedly. She never mentioned to the court her conflict of interest and that she was discussing my case with her close family friend and my stalker's attorney, Commissioner Marvin Arrington, before she was even sworn into office.
I believe it.
The Georgia Democrat Party's decision to grant a convicted felon previously jailed for 1 year for aggravated stalking, allowing him access to voter data poses a serious risk to every Fulton woman. Campaign software driven by GPS data exposes private information of registered voters without considering the implications of allowing unqualified individuals on the ballot.
Yo, that's wild that somebody with that type of conviction could have access to people's addresses. Sheesh. How is Fani still in office? Again, this was something I was aware of, but I wanted to bring back up, especially now that Fani's under fire, just to point out some of the things that have been going on. This is just another instance. My Lord.
Today, accountability is paramount, especially with the Fulton County DA failing to assist citizens affected by domestic violence, stalking, or unjust incarceration. The establishment of PAC offers a crucial avenue of justice, addressing challenges faced by non-legal professionals in navigating complaints against misconduct. Recent legislative changes led by Commissioner Bob Ellis ensures that offices funded by Fulton County adhere to ethical standards, safeguarding the rights of citizens.
It's not surprising.
The communities I represent are disproportionately affected by DA Willis's office, particularly those with underperforming schools. Despite laws mandating timely indictments, many languish in jail for months without resolution. Fulton County's jail stay average is 291 days. The national average is 30.
Shit.
37%.
Hold on. Y'all hear that? Almost a year. The average stay is almost a year.
These niggas lacking.
Let that sink in for a second. National average 30 days. Fulton County 290 plus days.
Of
Only in
inmates are
Atlanta.
unindicted in the jail. 3 people unindicted have sat in the jail longer than 2 years. This prolonged detention often is overcrowded in overcrowded conditions, reflects a failure of justice and basic human rights. It's imperative that the legal system upholds its duty to prosecute promptly or release detainees. Each person in the jail is someone's child, parent, sibling, or loved one. The Georgia General Assembly set clear guidelines for DA Willis, requiring her to indict individuals in custody within 90 days. Those arrested without bond must have their case presented to the grand jury within the same time frame. There are no exceptions to this law. If individuals have been incarcerated for over 90 days while the DA takes extended vacations with her special prosecutor, it's a direct insult to Fulton County families and those in jail. Consider this: sleeping on the floor for 2 years without facing a judge is not
Crazy.
justice. It's a glaring example of inhumane neglect, which the law is designed to rectify, either prosecute or release. The ACLU reported 503 unindicted inmates that were incarcerated at least 90 days. 447 were sleeping on the floor. DA Willis is required to notify a judge if a person remains in jail on felony charges without indictment for more than 45 days. Sheriff Labatt faces a significant challenge with his colleague neglecting her duties, leaving him to manage an overcrowded jail. If DA Willis addressed the backlog as requested, lives could have been saved.
I don't know, Rico. I don't
Everyone
know.
deserves justice.
Rico said, Atlanta, why the hell do y'all keep putting her back in office? I mean, ignorance. People just don't know. We're still finding out so much about what went on here, and we actually do the research and put in the work. Y'all can imagine the general public not knowing. All they see on the ballot is incumbent, or they'll see Fani Willis, or they'll hear black female Democrat, and they're like, yeah, I'll get behind it. It's just straight ignorance. That is sad to see.
By the end of 2023, 90% of the people in custody were black. This is not a time to give awards to people for failing to do their job. The Georgia General Assembly enacted a law mandating bail amounts to reflect a defendant's income. Excessive bonds can be rectified swiftly under these laws. Mismanagement in the DA's office shouldn't jeopardize someone's livelihood. Before I go to the next speaker, I want to say one last thing. DA Willis, backed by Commissioner Arrington, has spent millions prosecuting 2 celebrities. This allocation of funds adversely impacts the residents I represent.
It's true.
Standing up against political figures like Arrington and Willis is daunting. Living in a system that feels broken and corrupt and facing retaliation for protecting my family is disheartening. Yet I am supported by brave individuals that were not scared to stand next to me. There are also many brave individuals that have been contacting me about their stories. To those listening, don't hesitate to share your story. You have a community of supporters that will assist you. If you've been victimized by Commissioner Arrington or DA Willis, contact my office. Remember, victims should never blame themselves for things beyond their control. There's no excuse for anyone to violate, harass, intimidate, or stalk you. Trust your instincts and take steps to protect
That's a fact,
yourself.
Anton.
I'm going to have LA Pink from the Street Groomers come and speak.
All right, y'all give it up. That is Misha Maynor in here. Wow. Wow. We're going to go through. Let me see. I wanted to go through the full lawsuit here, and I have it ready to go for y'all. We might get into it in a second, but let me know what y'all think about this. Is there any weight to it? Do you think Fani Willis dropped the ball again? And is this just another stain on her record? Which, I mean, at this point, doesn't matter. We voted her in again. I don't know what's going to happen. Y'all let me know what you think. Wow. Within Mo Max says this is recent. This was within the last 7 to 8 months. So yes, it is definitely recent. And I have the lawsuit here. We might go through it, but it might be out of time. I might have to save this for Friday. Yep. Slime Light says nothing seems to get her out. Absolutely. Fanny's just over there hanging out. And thank you to the super chats too. Let me read these real quick. Appreciate y'all who liked the video, and thank y'all for the super chats as well. We've got my guy Michael Smith in here. Michael Smith is actually the one that sent that email about Miss Love saying that she was garbage and needed to be kicked out. And then shortly after that, Fani Willis responded and said, hey, Miss Love, it's okay. You're doing a great job. And then we know what happened. Miss Love got fired. Not fired officially, but she got replaced by Adam Abadi. So Michael Smith, I'd like to say he was the unnamed person from Germany that sent that email. So shout out to Michael Smith with the 5 bomb. Says, in Germany, we call them Fanny and the Love Gang. That's amazing, man. Shout out to Michael Smith for making our lives better and getting Miss Love up out of there. Thank you. Zahir, self-proclaimed psychiatrist for today. I would like to diagnose Fulton County with intense insanity, doing something again and again, expecting a different outcome that never happens. Most people don't see this though, and they don't think about it until they're sitting in Fulton County for 200 days. 290 days. A year. 2 years. They do use the county jail as a weapon to make people take pleas. Absolutely. And then I'm not going to go into the legal side of things for me, but listen, and Becky was asking me about how safe I feel in Fulton County. As a law-abiding citizen, I feel relatively safe, especially the area that I'm in. I will say I make sure from a legal standpoint with everything I do, I cross my T's, dot my I's, and just a straight shooter when it comes to how I function here inside Fulton County. Just because I know the laws. I've seen so much, y'all. I know I bring it up so much, but I don't think I can tell you how much of an impact serving on a grand jury for 3 months and going through hundreds of indictments affected how I view not only just law in general, but especially Fulton County and the city of Atlanta. It changed my life and made me so much more aware of understanding how the law works, how it applies to me, and how easily it is for someone to get caught up in something. You just never know. So y'all, man, make sure you know what's going on in your own county. Hopefully it doesn't take anything serious, but make sure you know what's going on in your county. Know the people who are in power, who are making decisions, because it could affect somebody you know, somebody you care about, or even yourself, even as a law-abiding citizen. Brooklyn said, isn't that the sheriff or mayor's issue to take care of? It's the sheriff's issue to run the jail. But what they're saying is Fani Willis is so focused on herself that she's not doing what she needs to do when it comes to prosecuting cases the right way, getting through the backlog of cases that were built up since she's been in office, before she was in office. It's just a whole mess that she's having to deal with. And even Sheriff Labatt said that in several of his press conferences as well. If the DA's office would move these cases through and not just lock people up and have them in here for no reason, then we wouldn't have this issue. All counties, every state stacks charges. That's a fact. I think that's why they were after Young Thug, so they can steal all his money and assets. Yeah, we need to figure out what happened to this watch too. Fulton County profits off keeping people in jail. It's in the black. It's in the black and right. The politicians don't know how to create revenue for Fulton County. That could be a reason why. Yes, she paid the company to tell her how she looks online. It's true. Becky says, Classy Beats, I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it changed my life, man. And I would do it again. I would absolutely do it again. If y'all get an opportunity to even just go into a courtroom in your county, just one day, spend an hour or 2 hours and listen to some of the cases that go through there. I know y'all have probably, if you've ever gotten a speeding ticket and you've been in maybe traffic court, I don't know how it is where you are, and you've been sitting there and you've been hearing the people go up one after one after one, and how there's so many interesting stories of what happened, the police officer telling his side, the person who got the ticket telling their side. If you can just go into some of these courtrooms and just listen to what's going on in your county, you would be surprised. She's not a good DA. I agree. We need a Courtney Kramer. We need to change something. Monterisa says Fani is trying to be like Tiffany Henyard. Oh, God. But it's not working. Well, I think, I don't know. Is the mayor of Dalton or the district attorney of Atlanta? Which one would you rather have? I think Fani Willis has had probably a more successful career so far than Tiffany Henyard, but Tiffany Henyard, she's yeah, they're about to get her up out of there. It's a great experience to serve on the jury. Absolutely, Becky. I wouldn't go back and change any of it. Anyway, we're going to get up out of here. I appreciate y'all showing love. Thank you to everybody who liked the video, sending super chats and supporting. We're going to be dropping some more videos this afternoon and going into tomorrow morning on Friday. So make sure y'all tune in. We'll probably review this full complaint on tomorrow's show. So make sure y'all are there for that. And of course, as always, y'all have a great rest of your day. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We gone. Peace. Wow.